Have you ever been called bougie? And even more, have you ever walked away feeling insulted about being called bougie? Well, you shouldn't. If this resonates with you, keep watching. We've all been born with the honor of being individuals. We're not prototype. There's no rule that says that we should all be the same, that we should all have the same background, that we should all have the same interests and the same style and so forth. And I, for one, love that. All of my life, I have enjoyed nice things, a nice way of life, a nice feeling about myself when I wear certain things or go certain places. And I never thought that was anything bad. But there were people who tried to make me feel that I was doing something wrong, that I was being fake, that I was not being real. Well, I was being very real. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and how I think this all started with me. You'd be surprised. Bourgeois comes from the French word bourgeois, right? So it really is not an insult. It's just another way of seeing someone as fancy, extra. My family is really extra, and we love that about each other. But my family is also so wonderful and so loving and giving, and we have always encouraged each other to be the best person we can be. Your background and upbringing can have a lot to do about the type of person that you are as far as your elegance or being considered bougie. I I blame my mother, and thank goodness, because she always doted over us, my brother and I, my family, my aunts, my uncles, cousins, even going back to my grandparents. We always presented ourselves in the finest way. My grandfather was very hardworking, and there are stories about him, legendary stories about how he gave assistance or helped people who were even bankers because he was a certain type of man that they came to, and he raised his family to be the same. Now, my grandparents are from the South, Southern people, salt of the earth, right? They were also very proud and they raised their children to be so, and their children raised theirs, my generation, to be so. So I would rather be called bougie than be called ratchet, which I think is a term where uh, you have no respect for yourself or those around you in your behavior or the way you dress. That's just my opinion, but I'm pretty certain that I'm right about that. When I was a child, I can remember being a child and I enjoyed reading in grade school. We had a library, like a square central space in our school, right? And it was the big library and it was open. And I loved going in there. And they had town and country magazines. They had even um, Vogue magazines, different types of magazines that I found an interest in. Something about those magazines drew me in. Now, before I go any further, some people can say, well, you're trying to be something else or a part of another group. And that's not true. People are attracted to what they feel inside, and you shouldn't be made to feel that you're putting on airs. You're just attracted to what feels close to home, and that's okay. Everyone is different. Every family is different. The upbringing is different. And being brought up a certain way to enjoy a certain type of life and honor and elegance or class doesn't mean you think you're better than anyone else. I don't think there's anyone in my family that feels they're better than anyone else. But we have a standard and we enjoy nice events. When we have a family reunion, it is like a gala. Now, some people can say, oh, it's so bougie. I don't want to get dressed up. No, we love it. And I'm sure lots of you out there love that. You love events where you get a chance to get dolled up and you feel so good because you feel like yourself. And that's a good thing. I have always enjoyed going to shows, like concerts, right? Going to plays and musicals. Our parents took us to those events. We got to meet certain people. I went to finishing school. I learned different things and I felt at home. Those surroundings didn't change me. Those surroundings welcomed me because that's how I've always felt. I think that when you are a more bourgeois or bougie type person, and I laugh at that. I think it's such a funny term, but I wear it. I accept it and I'm good with it. You know, I think there was a song called Bougie or Bad and Bougie or something. I don't know, but I love it. And my cousin Sharon, my one of my older cousins, she was so bougie and I loved every bit of it. She would say, our family is so extra, but we're so down to earth and fun too. But you can be yourself. You can be all of those things. You don't have to be one or the other. The bougie aesthetic, to me, when people say that, I just accept it and say thank you because I think that they're talking about the way I carry myself. It's a compliment. I never want to be taken as someone who is, out of control. She is so ratchet, you know. I don't want to say the word ghetto because there's a lot of meanings behind that term that are really horrific and insulting. So ghetto and ratchet are not the same thing. Ratchet is when you come in there and you're loud and you are insulting people. You have no concern about those in your presence, no concern about yourself as far as your presentation or your reputation. You know, that's what I think of ratchet. And that's something that I can't relate to. I never have. I ran from people like that. Usually they were bullying me or insulting me, telling me that I should be a certain way. I'm being me. If you're watching this, there's something about this title of this video that captured you. You were probably treated the same way. But if you've been called bougie, honey, take that as a compliment because it's something beautiful. It's not a bad thing. Now, if you're walking around with your nose in the air and you are looking down on people and you think you're so much better than everyone else, that's not bougie. That's just called rude and arrogant. That's not what this video is about. There are things in my life that I really enjoy. And if you're what people call a bougie type person, you probably enjoy these things as well. One, reading. I love to read. And you should read and learn about different things, learn about different places. I read my Bible, first and foremost, okay? I read biographies. I love reading about people's lives, especially people that I admired. I want to know how they started, what they were like as a child, what made them tick, you know, how did they blossom into the person that they became that made such an impact on people. Reading is so important because it helps you to grow as a person. It helps your mind and helps you evolve because you're not limited into a box. And so if reading is a part of bougie, I'll take that. Now, you may know that I'm also a writer. I have been writing since I was a child, and I'm a published best-selling author as well. what I love is journaling as well. When you journal, you really get to know about yourself. It's like you become so aware of who you are because you put on paper what you don't necessarily tell others. And it just really helps you so much. I love journaling. It's such a soft and elegant pastime or hobby. I just really enjoy it. Learning another language. Sometimes I'll say things in French, say a phrase or term in Spanish. I don't know Spanish fluently, but I wish I did. I should have taken it. I know more French, but I'm not fluent in French. But I know enough that when I go to France, I will be able to navigate. And that makes me feel so good that I can speak to people certain greetings and so forth in their language. And if that's calling me bougie, if an onlooker says, look at her, she thinks she's all bad. Look at her. She's trying to speak French or whatever. There's nothing special about that. That's what we should all be trying to do so we can communicate. But if that's what they call bougie, then I'll take that one too. Thank you very much. This is another thing that you should know. If you run in elegant circles or you're wanting to level up and feel very comfortable in certain spaces, restaurants, events, galas, family occasions, there's nothing more beautiful than knowing your wines. Knowing your wines, knowing what glass goes with a certain wine, knowing the difference between a champagne and a sparkling wine. That's impressive. And I used to just look through magazines and learn about wines. I would go to wine tastings. My husband and I, we really enjoy wine tastings with friends. You should know your wines. It gives you an edge and you feel really good and comfortable. You can talk to anyone. There are so many people who know nothing about wine, people who are wealthy and they think they are really doing it, right? They don't know anything about wine. But when you come in there and you share with them, when I was in Napa, we tasted this particular wine. And you learn about, I'm not saying I was in Napa. I'm just, example, if you tell someone, when we were in Napa, we went on a wine tour and we walked through the beautiful vineyards and, I learned so much. You tell people that, they're like, okay, very elegant. I love that. When I talk to people and they've been to different places, there are wineries and vineyards in quite a few states, not just California. They are all over. Just take a wine tour. Just really educate yourself on those types of things. Wines, you know, caviars, even if you don't like it, just learn about those types of things. And that is bougie, and I love it. Robert Mondavi, Amoy and Chandon, you should know about your wines. And there's just something about a wine list and knowing how to pronounce each wine. Even the servers are impressed. That's not being bougie in those spaces. That's just called being you. Now, art appreciation and knowledge of art, and even painting. I enjoy going to galleries, art museums. I always have since we were a child. Our mom and aunt would take us to the museums. We would go to, I'm from the Midwest, we would go to the Chicago Museum of Science and the Chicago Art Museums. We just really enjoyed it. And as we grew up, we keep that with us. I have always enjoyed it. I have family in Los Angeles, and the Getty Museum is so lovely and so calming. They enjoy going there. And people would say, That's such a bougie thing to do. It's not. It's available to everyone. Why should we hold back because people think that we shouldn't, that we don't belong in those spaces? And when I say we, you know what I'm talking about. And that's really insulting to not only me, but to yourself for saying that. You feel that you don't belong somewhere. You belong anywhere that you want to be. And speaking of art, I really enjoy painting. A couple of years ago, I wanted a certain type of piece in my bedroom, and I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. And also, art pieces can get really expensive, even if you're just like local stores. But I didn't want something that everyone else already had. So what I did was I went and got canvas, and I'm not a big artist, not a like painting and drawing, but I went and got a canvas and I painted my own piece, and it hangs in my bedroom right now, and it's so beautiful. And yes, I signed it. It was so relaxing, such an elegant, graceful, relaxing hobby, and I think I want to do more. Now, if people say, "Oh, I don't have time for that. That's so bougie," and I really wish we would stop saying that, first of all. But I decided to do this video because this conversation needs to be had. Doing things like this is not, stepping out of where you belong. Where do we belong? Who do I need to be? It's not looking for, um, someone says, it's like you're trying to have, gain validation. The only validation I need is from God. And everything else I enjoy doing is because I enjoy doing it. And so painting, wines, learning different languages, going, staying certain hotels, frequenting certain restaurants, and so forth. And, you know, you're just allowed to be yourself. Be yourself. And if that's just being an elegant, bourgeois, posh, whatever term you want to put on that, you do that because that is being you. As long as you are being yourself, as long as you are not trying to change yourself to manipulate or something like that. That's a whole nother topic. And I don't think anyone here is watching this video because that's what they're trying to do. But be yourself. It is just time to be yourself and not be afraid. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to wear that. I don't want to play that game. They're going to think certain thing of me. Let them. Golf and tennis, those are two things that are considered elite, but they're not necessarily. If you love golf, tennis, horseback riding, etc., those are sports that everyone can participate in. Venus and Serena were not raised in a posh lifestyle, and look at them now. Serena is the GOAT when it comes to tennis because she wanted to. She and Venus wanted to play tennis, and that's what they did, and they didn't care. They didn't go for what people probably assume they should do, go play basketball. I don't know why, some folks may think that we should only play basketball. You do what you want. You engage in the sport that you want. You go watch the sport. My mother and I, when I was a teenager, we went to a polo match and we had such a great time and I was so excited and I felt at home. No one was judging me. No one was saying, "Oh, look at them. What are they trying to do?" No, because everyone was there having a good time. I've always been encouraged to enjoy whatever it is we like, as long as it was not hurting anyone, as long as it's not hurting God. It's good. And I'm going to do it because I feel comfortable and I'm being me. If I'm forced to change and, stop wearing what I want, because, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm trying to be better than them. I mean, there's occasions when it's not appropriate to show up like this, right? Because it may be more of a casual setting, or, sometimes we volunteer in places. I'm not going to show up all furred out and everything and just complete bling when the surrounding is supposed to be helping people who are less fortunate. They are less fortunate at the moment, because then that can be perceived as showing off. And that's something I would never want to do. That is something that is not classy. It's trying to show off. So there are moments where, you know how to gauge the occasion and show up appropriately. What I'm talking about is just not changing who you are overall for a boyfriend, for a new friend that you've met, because they're not like that. You need to be yourself. I've had people insult me in the past. Why are you always so dressed up? Because I'm me. You know, I want to be me, and you should be yourself. And that's all I'm saying in this video, is just encouraging you. If people think you're bougie and, upscale, you know, take that as a compliment, because guess what? It is a compliment, because you're being your beautiful self. And that's something that when I see someone, I smile, because I can tell when someone is just walking in her own graceful shoes and she's not trying to show off or be somebody else. You should be allowed to do that. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And wherever you are in the world, you have yourself a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening. And we will see you on the next one. You take care. Bye.